Hey guys, thanks for coming back. This is going to be part 2. We're still here. We haven't moved. We're going to
hope you're doing well.
We're going to continue on Doug Phelps's page. I think this guy's even commented before. He said Fred denied knowing Weddle and Lonnie, any of the Weddle's foot soldiers, but I believe he's a liar.
Sad.
I've been called worse. He has been coached on the Edrington conspiracy theories by someone in the Weddle camp. Does anybody in the Weddle camp have 40 years police experience? Throwing shade because of the Harless pressure for Fred to release nearly 30 Edrington videos since the Harless death speaks volumes.
Wow.
Guys, it speaks volumes because Sheila and I are trying to find out who murdered Johnny Edrington. It's sad. You have a right to your opinion, and that's good, but you're incorrect. I still don't know Lonnie.
Yeah.
You know, we never knew nobody named Lonnie. Still don't. Well, I know people named Lonnie, but not this one they're talking about. You know, we saw his name come up in a report that Doug Asher had filled out when Doug Asher had met with Jimmy Phelps's wife. She had taken an EPO out or said he beat her up or whatever he done. It's in the report.
Mm-hmm.
And she went and got an EPO on Jimmy Phelps when he was a trooper.
Okay.
And she had taken it evidently to the sheriff's office, which would be the proper place to go. The sheriff's department serves all legal process, all EPOs, all. When the deputy sheriff had came to serve Jimmy at the post 11 there in London, evidently they had a knockdown drag out. Evidently, Johnny Phelps met the deputy sheriff at the door. I'm thinking it was Lonnie. If it wasn't, then Lonnie was a deputy at this time.
Okay.
Whether he's the deputy at the post 11, I don't know, or whether he showed up for backup, whether his name come in later on, I don't know, but that name did come up later on. We've never heard of that until we saw this report.
Honestly.
And saw what Jimmy had posted or somebody. And evidently he was a deputy sheriff at the time that responded to post 11 to serve an EPO on Jimmy Phelps taken by his wife. And Doug Asher actually intercepted and him and Johnny Phelps tried to keep the deputy from getting to Jimmy to serve the EPO. They didn't. They wanted to serve it, or they wanted to have it recalled, or I don't know what the purpose is. I won't speculate, but they had a big knockdown drag out there, or scuffle anyway, because Doug Asher, I think it was 4 pages long, the report that we read that he filed on that.
The only interaction we had with Mr. Weddle was with the Joseph Cal case. We didn't.
That's a smokescreen. They want people to believe that. You guys can believe anything you want. If you don't know Sheila and I good enough by now to know that we're old, I'm arrogant. I'm an old man. Really don't care anymore. I really we need to be retired. We are retired. Well, Sheila's been substituting. Sheila's gone back to teaching, but we're eventually going to get retired and enjoy life a little bit, but
hopefully
you can't influence us. You can't.
It's sad.
That's why some people says lawsuits, this and that. Guys, listen, we live in a 1-room apartment.
Yeah.
Over top of the family's museum, rent free, because we keep an eye on everything for them till they decide what they're ever going to do with it. We don't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out. We sold our house, gave everything to the grandkids.
Yep.
We're done. I, for one, don't think Doug Harless will receive a fair trial and an impartial investigation. This is me talking. Because anytime you see something mean or bad or derogatory, it's probably from me. She's probably down here beating my leg to death the whole time. But Sheila won't go that road. She won't go that route. And that's why I get take offense when people insult her because Sheila don't have a mean bone in her body.
Words can't hurt me, baby.
I feel they violated the law by not having cameras and serving a warrant for a weed eater after midnight or at midnight. And I don't trust the Kentucky State Police. Do I need to say more? So I'm commenting to that guy's post there where he commented on Doug. And here Sheila will show you this is a letter and it says, "Hey, Fred and Sheila, thank you for your assistance to our community during such a stressful time." Maybe you can post this at the same time I'm reading.
I will. I'll pop it up on the screen for him.
Good luck in the future and hope you all have a good holiday season. May God continue to bless you both
Throughout the year.
throughout your lives.
Okay.
Sincerely, Jimmy Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
There's his phone number.
Mm-hmm.
There's the check for $15,000. Now, that wasn't just from Crime Stoppers. That $5,000 of that I think came from
United
Way of Loyal County or something.
United Way, I think.
And thank all of you.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
But look here, guys. Everybody talks and says Weddle gave him a check, so he must owe Weddle something. He really? Johnny gave us a check.
Jimmy.
He didn't only give us a check. He wrote us a real sweet letter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need to be loyal to him. We're loyal to the truth, guys. To the truth. That's all we want. Mayor Weddle gave us a check, but no letter. Maybe it's Jimmy we favor. He's the one who wrote us the letter. Truth is, we don't favor nobody. We want the truth on both cases.
Mm-hmm.
There's the letter.
And I'll
again.
post it on the thing there.
Pleading guilty to a crime is much different than being convicted of a crime. And I don't mean to be mean here. I'm not trying to be mean, Doug. This is for Doug Phelps.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be mean. This is part of our original video because some people had made some comments on different things, and I want to clear some things up. Conviction. If you're convicted of a crime in court, you can always claim, "Oh, I was railroaded. Oh, I got the shaft." You can always claim that they didn't let us present all the evidence that we had. We tried, but we were railroaded. Or you can say, the jury was biased. My brothers are both state troopers and they've taken half their family to jail and they just they found me guilty. Or the judge was biased because he had it out with my brothers one time. If you're convicted of a crime, you can say that.
Okay.
But when you plead guilty, it's a different course of action.
Huh.
When you plead guilty to a crime, you're admitting that you're guilty.
Right.
No question about it. I did it. The big question is, in order to plead guilty, voluntarily, without threat or promise. You know, I used to, working for sheriff's departments, I've also served as bailiffs in court. And I used to hate it on sentencing day when people would show up to be sentenced because it was a long, boring day and you had to hear the same 20 or 30-minute speech every time by the judge, making sure that that person that stood in front of them, especially for a felony, knew what they were pleading to and knew what was going on. And the judge would ask them, "Are you pleading guilty without threat or promise?" "Yes, Your Honor."
Yeah.
"Are you pleading guilty without coercion or anything from the prosecutor or me or any?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Are you in fact pleading guilty because you're guilty?" "Yes, Your Honor." "So you're saying that on so-and-so date you did this to this person and you're pleading guilty to this charge?" "Yes,
Wow.
Your Honor." That's about how clear it is, if not clearer.
Wow.
So when people plead guilty to something, they're admitting guilt. That's a whole lot different than being convicted or standing trial and fighting it and trying to prove your case. Has anyone shown photos to others over the years? Why would anyone show a photo of a dead man to anybody, especially outside of law enforcement? We don't even know that anybody has for a fact. We simply ask a question, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We simply ask a question because people have told us, more than one,
Right.
that they have seen photos over the years of Johnny Edrington's body.
Yeah. His death. Yeah.
Guys, this man was not a trophy. This was a real man. This was a real person,
Human
a
being.
real father to be, a real son, a real brother, a real husband. We show them pictures like they're trophies. If that did in fact happen, that's wrong. Doesn't make nobody guilty of the death of Johnny.
No.
But maybe that has something to do with some of the stories that's been told or rumors that started over the years. Doesn't have no bearing on the case. As Sheila and I have always said, thought the murder was in prison. See, some of these people's jumping on Sheila and I or taking offense or that raises my suspicion. Even if I didn't suspect them, it does raise suspicion. I'd be lying if I said anything that it didn't, but it doesn't make them guilty. But Sheila and I have always felt that the two people that needs to be talked to are him
already there or
Kentucky State Penitentiary,
detained or whatever.
They're in prison. They're on death row. That's where our investigation, and we don't want to stipulate or speculate but that's where we would start at. The first thing you've got to do is rule people out. And that would be two easy ones to rule out right off the bat.
Right.
But with all the attacks, since we question the case, it does make us more suspicious. And it does. And it would make them more suspicious if they were looking at the case from where we're looking at it from. Why take offense? Why get that mad? We're two of the very people that's told people, don't spread rumors. Don't put names on our website. Don't. That's not right. That's not correct of anybody to do that. There's no saying innocent until proven guilty. That's not true. When you're accused of something, you're guilty until proven innocent. And probably even if you're proven innocent, you're going to be thought of. That's just the way people's minds work. Sad, but that's the way it is.
Right.
I hate it for the rumors. I hate it for the speculation. I hate it but as of right now, we'll reiterate what we said in one of our videos way back. We have no evidence, no proof whatsoever that any of those rumors are true.
Right. I'll
tell you what we don't believe. We don't believe Jimmy down through here somewhere on one of them posts says, I love Johnny E. Bullcrap. We don't believe that. We don't believe that. We don't believe that from some of the things that we know. And we believe these people. We don't believe there was no love lost between Jimmy, Johnny, and Johnny E. And evidently none between Doug Asher. We've asked to see any kind of disciplinary action, any cases that Johnny E. may have brought to Doug Asher, his supervisor. What's the cases that he may have brought to Doug Asher and said, I want you to look into this? Or did you know this was going on, boss? Did you know there's more to this case? That doesn't mean nobody's involved with the homicide, but there's something that's been that's not right.
I agree.
Johnny said, I loved him too. Somebody said on that post, I love Johnny E.
Johnny
Edrington.
Yeah.
Jimmy Phelps said, I loved him too.
Jimmy, okay.
Bullcrap. I have to call bullcrap on that. I'm honest where I'm honest. I don't think the rumors have anything to do with Jimmy and Johnny. That's what I think at this time. If something changes, we'll let you know. But I think they're rumors. Sadly, but they're rumors. Where he said he loved Johnny E., I think that's not true. My opinion. I don't think they got along very well. And rightly so. On Johnny E.'s part. Was there a fight? We don't know, guys. We don't know. Doesn't matter one way or the other. It still wouldn't prove that anybody had anything to do with a homicide or a crime.
Right.
We merely want to know. It's like a criminal case, or any kind of case you're working is like a jigsaw puzzle. You put your puzzles out there, dump everything out, and you start putting it together. Talk to this person. There's one piece. Talk to that person. Here's a piece. And you finally get the puzzle put together. Are you missing some pieces? Can you still work a case and be missing pieces? Yeah. But that's just a piece of the puzzle. Did that take place?
Right.
Would that be something that would be of relevance? Of course. Does it prove anybody's committed a crime? Absolutely not. Ask that any information and statements be made in the supplemental reports be prosecuted. We would ask the state police if this case is ever open and between Jimmy, Johnny, Doug, between all these people, Doug Asher. Why isn't Doug Asher asking for it to be reopened? Why isn't he on the news every day? He's the one who wrote the book. He's the one that opened this can of worms by slandering these people's father and their brother, son. But we ask that any statements that was put in that file back 36 years ago, if anything at all was found to be false and lied, that it be prosecuted. Falsely reporting an incident, falsely filling out a report, all these different things, and especially the one that Doug Asher just took last year. He says that in his book that he took a supplemental and took it to Post 11 where he wasn't welcomed very well. No wonder. No wonder. 36 years later, you take a supplemental report that you want to report change, that you want to. Why didn't you do it then? Exactly. Why didn't you file that report then?
Why now? Why would you?
That's the time to do it, not after insurance fraud, if that's what it was. You done it before. But we ask that any of these people that filed a report, that they be prosecuted or at least be taken before a grand jury. Doug says he's added one last year. You're going to hear Jimmy Phelps read on Facebook where Jimmy, or may have been Johnny, said he loved Johnny E. We done discussed that, but not was what the evidence shows. Actions speak louder than words. Does that make them involved in a sinister crime? Definitely not. I'm ahead of my notes, guys.
Sorry.
Saw on Facebook page where a fella makes the following comment. He makes the comment that he wanted to add, he wants to add more evidence that he wasn't allowed to add in his supplemental report. He wants to add another addition to his supplemental. That would be another supplemental to a supplemental. It's 36 friggin' years later, guys. Can't add supplementals now. Why didn't you add it when the case was going on? Well, you mean you wasn't allowed to add it then? You wasn't allowed to add it then? Can we see where you filed a complaint with the FBI, with the United States Attorney's Office, with the Department of Justice, with the Kentucky Attorney General, with the Kentucky State Police, where you filed a complaint in writing, protesting and saying, hey, I think this is a S side, and I think this is this, and I think show us a news footage. We posted in our last video, me and Paul Hatfield, been promoted to detectives, sheriff bragging on us left and right. Rightly so. We worked hard. We deserved that. But after we went undercover for 3 years and started working drugs even more, we found out that he was the biggest drug dealer in the county. He was protecting certain ones. We went to the FBI. The FBI turned out to be lame. The two agents we happened to go to, we just happened to get the two. What choice did we have? We went to the media. Media, most powerful organization out there, the media. It's what protected us from being set up. That's what protected us from, we knew we was going to lose our jobs. We knew that when we turned the sheriff in for corruption.
Exactly.
That's not the deal. We didn't mind losing our jobs for standing up and doing what was right. We went on to get other jobs.
Sure. Yep.
We went on to have careers in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Where we both retired. But if this was insurance fraud, if this was classified as a homicide, but yet it was a S side for insurance purposes, who did you complain to? We don't need supplementals now. We need to know who you complained to and why they didn't do something. Why the FBI didn't investigate if you complained to them. See, nobody complained, guys. And when they didn't complain, that means they conspired to let something go on that they thought was a crime. And if it was in fact a crime, insurance fraud is a felony in Kentucky, especially for the amount of an insurance policy. felonies in Kentucky have no time limitations. They could be prosecuted today. Doug Asher,
Wow.
Jimmy and Johnny Phelps, any of those guys that said they went along with it. Now, we met troopers and talked to troopers, and they say, no, we knew this was a homicide that night. Well, I've never thought it was anything but a homicide. But those three guys, Asher and the two Phelpses, say S side. Well, if they thought it was an S side then, and they're still saying it's S side today, and they didn't go to the media or they didn't file complaints with other organizations, other agencies to get this investigated, in my opinion, that should go before a grand jury for insurance fraud. I don't mean to be mean to these guys. I don't have nothing personally against them. I'm telling you what the law is, and if I'm incorrect in the law, please do as Doug did and correct me. I'm not beyond being.
Well, Mr. Asher also said, didn't he, that he went to a meeting?
Asher said he went to a meeting in Lexington and sat there. I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything. Means you're part of if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you're thinking that and you didn't say nothing, but you don't have no problem coming up 35 years later and writing a book and insulting a lady's father, sad.
Yeah.
I've got so much dislike for Mr. Asher that it's not even funny. And it's not even funny that you could do that to somebody. You know, guys.
Can you get it?
Look at this uniform right there. United States Army. You'll hear in a minute where one of the reporters said Doug Asher, Army veteran. The United States Army. Guess who else wore that uniform right there? Johnny Edrington. Johnny Edrington, United States Army. That's the difference in the Marines and the Army. Army of one. There's you an army of one. The Marines. There's no such thing as an I. In the Marine Corps, you don't say I. That's an I. No such thing as I. Everything in the Marine Corps is a team.
No,
everybody works together. No I in team. That's a fellow soldier of that man's.
Yeah.
He's got a daughter. Yeah. Suicide to sell a book, to write a book. You know, guys, it's funny. Oh, Lord. It just come to me, but isn't it funny that a book like that, most important case in Laurel County, biggest news case in Laurel County, probably even bigger than Johnny Edrington. It'd be one or the other. Was a guy named Robert Foley, who worked for the FBI, an FBI informant for Ron Poole. Robert Foley went on to kill, didn't kill one person, went on to kill 6 more people, killed more, in my opinion. But he killed 6. He's on death row for killing 6. Biggest case to ever hit Laurel County. This was your post commander for state police. He was in the state police. He was there. I didn't read this book because it's garbage. I read the 5 pages on Johnny Edrington and the 2 pages on Mark Putnam because I worked with Mark Putnam, the FBI agent that killed his wife, or killed his informant, I'm sorry, killed his wife. His wife died while he was in prison from sorrow. I know the Mark Putnam case. Yep. That's who we went to on corruption. We lived it. That man there wrote an entire book, and he never puts Robert Foley's story. The biggest case that ever took place in Laurel County, he never mentions that I could find. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Why is that? Does that not raise questions? It does to me. Doesn't make them guilty of anything.
Right.
Definitely. So I don't, this guy there is, I don't know who, that's why the state police has lost credibility. They've got supervisors, they've got commissioners, they've got post commanders like this man right here, like that man right there. Research post commander up in Pikeville, Kentucky, post 9. Look at the charges that's going on in Johnson County and McGoffin County. Bruce Slack, Slack. I totally agree. I did. It says I didn't, but I think it means I did. I did some follow-up on this case, and the command staff weren't concerned about the information in my supplemental. They apparently had reached their own conclusion. Well, guys, they didn't buy into the gun being into the wrong hand.
Right.
They didn't buy into that. They didn't buy into him falling and holding on to his gun. They didn't buy into. That's the only thing you've got that would implicate a S-side. You've got the gun in his hand. What's the easiest thing in the world to do? Put a gun in somebody's hand. You've heard 3 cases. There's hundreds or thousands of them.
Mm-hmm. So
They'd already reached their conclusion. Well, according to Jimmy Phelps, he says it was solved that night. So he reached his conclusion within minutes or hours of Johnny being killed. Mm-hmm. It was solved that night, he said. Well, Doug Asher says in his book it was solved that morning because he called the detectives into the office. Said, "What do you think, guys?" And they said, "It's self-inflicted." Okay. That's what they went with. That's what they told the funeral home director. That's what they told the first ME, the young guy, Hunt Sinker. What are they going to do? They got 3 or 4 troopers standing there telling them that. What are they going to do? No, you're wrong. People don't stand up like that, especially if they're inexperienced on autopsies or no, not a doctor or not just a funeral director. It's a respected job. Believe me, I couldn't do it because at one time that was going to be my profession until I seen a child and I couldn't handle it. So insert text from trooper here.
You talk about Mr. Slack there. Yeah,
Mr. Slack is a Kentucky state trooper. Bruce Slack, if you'll Google him, he's retired state trooper. And he says here that his information was my supplemental.
They weren't concerned about his information in his supplemental, that they apparently had reached their own conclusion.
That's what he said.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's several troopers that we've talked to or contacted with over the years, and we're going to show you the list of them here in a minute. They're on that list. They're in those pictures that the newspapers ran, a bunch of pictures, different pictures of different troopers in different positions and places. I wrote this trooper and asked him, I sent him a copy of that, a screen print, and I said, "Do you know this trooper here? Or was he at the scene? I can't find his name. We can't anywhere. I have never heard of him. He wasn't anyone from KSP or local departments that I knew. I feel sure I would recognize names directly associated with the case." Then he goes on to say, "I just watched your last video and must say, you two are not idiots. And thank you for the compliment, sir. We appreciate that." But he answered our question. He'd never heard. There's only like 900 to 1,000 troopers. Back in that day, probably less than that.
Wow.
In the Kentucky State Police, but he didn't know him. And he definitely didn't know him from any surrounding post. And he definitely didn't know him from working anything in the Johnny Edrington case. Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
Doesn't mean he just didn't know him. But Sheila's going to show you a thing right now. I'm just going to call off unit numbers 199. 1107, 1182, 698, 107, 472, 656, 528, 108, Unit 96. That's the ones that's on the list that was either working on the case or that was there. That trooper's not one of them. Now, he says up there that his supplemental wasn't. So that means his supplemental is in the file. If he's telling the truth, since Commissioner Burnett stood at that news conference and said that the troopers found the body and appreciated our help, assistance. Since Scotty Pennington, the public relations officer, put a post out on Facebook and on Twitter and said Kentucky State Troopers found the body of Joseph Couch, we don't take much stock in what somebody says, especially state troopers. Guy told us yesterday that, well, it was the day before yesterday. Was you guys ever up on the hill there looking for that couch guy at night, evening time? I said, yeah. He said, the troopers that come up there on you all wanted to get you all trespassed, wanted to be able to tell you not to come back up on that hill. Good thing they didn't, because we went back the next day and found the body. Had they trespassed us, had they told us not to be back up on that hill, we would have never found that body. And 2 or 3 more days of those birds and coyotes, he would have been gone. A hurricane come through after that, a bunch of rain, it would have washed his boots off. They never would have found Mr. Couch. They were going to trespass us. We're the only people out there in that area for those 6 days we were there looking, actively searching for Mr. Couch.
Yeah.
And because they have to come up there on us because somebody saw us on the cliff, rude to us, mistreated us.
They were.
4 of them, very badly treated. Only know what report shows. We can't find his name connected to the Johnny Edrington case anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nor can we find anyone to connect him to it. No other troopers have told us. Maybe Jimmy and Johnny. They evidently know this guy because he has posted on Doug's page. I think it's Doug's.
It was one of them.
Doesn't mean he wasn't, but there's no evidence that he was. Doesn't mean he wasn't there, or that didn't have something to do with it, but we can find no proof of it. He made a statement as to the command staff weren't concerned about the information in my supplemental. Were they not concerned? Was it not important? Did this trooper think it was an S side? Is this another trooper that thought it was an S side? So he would have a complaint form that he filed with the state police saying, hey, I want to file a complaint because I think this is insurance fraud. You are paying these people off this insurance money and it's not a homicide. Did he go to the state police, the FBI? Did he go to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Department of Justice? Did he go to the media? That's what you look at. You can't go by what people says. Let's go by actions. Actions speak louder than words. Mm-hmm. Me and Paul Hatfield went to the media. When all else failed, we went to the media to draw attention to our complaint. And we got the drug protecting taken care of in Pike County during that time. Wasn't real pleased with the entire investigation or the investigator. But more could have been done, but says he's a retired trooper. So tell us what was in your report. See, guys, Jimmy and Johnny are retired. And Jimmy and Johnny, I don't mean to be down on you. We're just debating here back and forth. I'm
just talking.
But Jimmy and Johnny are retired. This trooper here, Slack, whatever his name was, is retired. Doug Asher is retired. Doug Asher wrote a book on it, so he's retired. Doug Asher said he's got overwhelming evidence. Jimmy and Johnny says when the facts come out, you've got a Facebook page there. You've got Justice for Laurel County. You've got Justice for Doug. Show us the facts. Post the facts when the facts come out. You're retired. You're not silenced. You didn't take an oath of silence. This ain't the Masonic Lodge. You can tell us what you know. That's what Sheila and I wanted to meet with you for. Tell us. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's nothing to tell other than opinions. And I think that's just from lack of likeness, from disagreements, I don't think it's nothing to do with anything connected to a crime. That y'all just didn't like each other. How Doug Asher comes into play with you and Jimmy and Johnny E, I don't know. We don't know yet. Mm-mm. You guys could clear a lot of this up. Maybe it was between Doug Asher and Johnny E, and you guys just stepped into just an opinion.
You're right.
Speculate.
Right.
Just my opinion. I've looked at every angle we have, trying to figure out. There's 3 of you, Jimmy, Johnny, and Doug Asher. that says this, because Stewart doesn't say it. Stewart's report calls this a homicide, a murder. May have been unanimous. Looks like as of right now, it's unanimous between Doug Asher, Jimmy, and Johnny. And if it's not, then did the other ones go to the FBI? Did they feel it was a suicide and they went to the FBI? They went to somebody else and filed a complaint. And ultimately the media. Huh?
What steps did they take?
Yeah, what steps did they take that they felt so strongly that it was an S side that they stood up because they didn't want this $150,000, $200,000 paid out in insurance for Johnny? Do we really believe that 20, 30 people, 20 to 30 other people concocted this idea to, let's call it a homicide just so this family can get some insurance money? The family wasn't bad off. Jack and Patty were not destitute. Did these 20, did Dr. Vincent DeMayo know Johnny Edrington's family or somebody and say, I feel sorry for them? I think I'm going to put my reputation on the line, that I'm a career. That man's got a big school named after him. He's going to put his reputation on the line by saying it's a homicide when it's not. Guys, if you all believe this stuff, you're gullible. You're gullible. Says Trooper, so show us the report. What did you do on the case, etc.? Funny that people say things. Show photos. Show us photos. Overwhelming proof. We've never seen overwhelming proof. We've never seen has all the facts, but they can't come out yet. Okay, bring them out. You know, guys, it's like people saying, and I respect Jimmy and Johnny. They spent years in the state police, and that's fine. I don't know. Other than this right here's, they say they was rough troopers. People says I was a rough police officer. There's a difference in mistreating people and doing your job. There's a difference in fighting with people when people resist arrest and they want to fight. There's some people ain't going to have it no other way but to fight the police. That's how they're going to save face. Hey, I went to jail, but it took 6 of them. There's people that prides themselves. I can't fault Jimmy and Johnny if they were fighters. How many people they ever shoot? See, I respect people that fighters more than I do shooters. So many people out there shoot people nowadays, cops do, rather than just go hands on and fight. That's not respectable. Shoot people because you're afraid when you could fight with them and maybe save their life and let them sober up. Who is that?
Hankler.
Oh,
Hankler.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, who is that? Probably wanting to confirm my appointment. I broke a tooth off. I've got to go to the dentist. I don't know where I was at now. Sorry, but we don't know. Want to put your supplement today. If you're going to put something in the supplement today, it shouldn't be allowed, guys. That's 36 years later. Sorry, you should have thought about that back then when you was, if you thought it back then, you can't wait 36 years and add stuff to it and say this and that. It don't work like that. I know what I was going to say. Jimmy and Johnny's reputation, I can appreciate them and the rumors and being aggravated. I can appreciate that. Imagine Jimmy and Johnny taking up for themselves. Imagine being a young mother. Imagine being Diane Edrington. Imagine somebody starting a rumor on you that, well, she got pregnant while she was married to another man. Imagine that. Imagine raising a kid and her going to school and people looking and saying, yeah, I heard this was so-and-so's daughter. I heard this was that person's daughter. Imagine that, guys. If you think your rumors are bad, imagine what Diane Edrington at the time went through. Imagine what their daughter went through.
Yep, growing up.
Knowing that she's probably going to hear rumors growing up and stuff. And then finally takes a DNA test just to prove everybody wrong. That's sad. Sad situation.
It really is.
For everybody.
Yes.
We want to know what was put into the report in 1988. That's what we want to know. We want to see the case file from 1988, not what Doug Asher added 35 years later. We want to see what people said back in 1988 And if they went along with this so-called cover-up, because that's insurance fraud, some troopers claim cover-up. Were they a part of the cover-up? Where's the evidence? Asher, the twins, or anyone else went to the media to expose insurance fraud and a cover-up. Did you? Good question to ask. We need the proof where these guys asked the FBI to investigate. They felt so strongly that it was a cover-up and it was corruption and it was an insurance fraud. They was wanting to pay the insurance off, because if they did, they covered up for an insurance policy. Otherwise, all these troopers are part of an alleged cover-up. And I agree with that. Think about it, troopers. Doug, you went along with that 35, 36 years ago. You're as guilty as the other ones. Part of a cover-up. Insurance fraud, in my opinion. If you know a crime has been committed and you don't expose it, you're as guilty as the perp. In my opinion. That's there's even charges where you rob a bank. The guy out in the car driving the car, the getaway driver's as guilty as the guys that went inside with the guns. They're as guilty. They're all conspired. They're conspiracy. You know who contacted the FBI to investigate? Do you know who contacted the FBI to investigate Johnny Edrington's death, guys? Frankfurt. This guy a while ago says Frankfurt already had their mind made up, did they? They contacted Vincent DeMayo. They contacted the FBI suicide investigator team just to make sure they look at it and get their thoughts on everything, their opinion. Doug Asher says in his book, or in a report, wherever it's at, it's in one of our videos, that DeMayo said that it was told him it was a S side, but where he's a police officer, he's going to give him the benefit of the doubt and call it a homicide. Really?
Yeah.
See, DeMayo's dead.
Yeah.
DeMayo's dead. A lot of these troopers are dead. Doug's book didn't come out till a year and a half, 2 years ago. They died. Some of them died just in the last 2 or 3 years. Then all of a sudden the book comes out. Convenient? Coincidence? Now let's just bring the book out. They're complaining, saying it was S side and all this and that. They didn't complain. They didn't go to the media. They didn't go to the feds. They didn't go to anybody and do anything about it, insurance fraud. But guess who did? Kentucky State Police in Frankfurt. The heavies in Frankfurt. Michael Troop, different ones like that. John Lyle, Lovett, Jerry Lovett, some of the older troopers contacted the FBI and had them, I forget what the name of it is. There's a group of people at the FBI that looks at things like that. Where's the proof? Asher and Phelps's. Where's the proof that Asher and Phelps's requested anyone, including the media, to investigate? I know I'm repeating it over and over. Sometimes I just get ahead of my notes.
Yeah.
But think about it. Think about that for a moment. Where's the proof? I don't want to say haters, because I don't think you guys hate us. You may read into things and somebody else has said about being in with this one. We're not in with nobody. But if you are haters of ours, at least put the hate away and just look at the evidence. Just look at that and ask them, guys, who did you complain to, guys? Who did you go to? Who did you report this to? Because you're state troopers, you know how to investigate. You know how to report a crime. You know the process. Guys, we don't know what happened to Johnny E. other than he was shot with his own gun. Traffic stops and own guns, that's the top cause of police officers' deaths. He got them both. A traffic stop. Remember, the truck driver said he was following him down the road, and they got down the road, and here come a truck up the road going at least 70 miles an hour. In his opinion, he's a truck driver. He can judge. I guarantee he was close. Let's see how close he was, because after the truck went by, he said the trooper behind him turned and went after the truck. He could hear him, woo, he could hear him tromping on it.
Yeah.
Johnny Edrington's radar is locked in on 79 miles an hour. We know we'd invent and patent a safety device. Johnny E. had both. Traffic stop and his own gun.
Yep.
No one thought suspicious. Called it suicide the night, according to Jimmy Phelps. No one thought suspicious. He called it a suicide that night. He said it was settled that night, that it was a S side. And that could happen. I can see that happen. A rush to judgment. I'm sorry, babe.
Oops.
rush to judgment. I can see it happening. Is that what happened? Did he just see the gun in his hand, in his wrong hand?
He just assumed.
And he assumed, and he called it. Because, first of all, he probably don't like Johnny E. Johnny E. probably didn't like him. We've got a picture we'd like for him to see. And maybe he can explain something. That might explain to us something. That's why we've been wanting to meet with people and ask people and investigate things. Not as enemies, but working together to solve this case.
Can you imagine what could happen if everybody worked together?
We don't dislike the Phelpses. Even Doug on his video seemed like a nice enough guy. He wasn't rude. We got to work together. But he's exactly right. Whether you're calling an S-side or homicide, we've got to get the state police. That's our common enemy. They've got to release the file. They've either got to release the file so Doug and Jimmy and Johnny can look at it and investigate it on their side. Sheila and I can investigate it on our side. Let's see what we come up with.
Meet in the middle.
Or they've got to put some detectives on it that's not afraid to insult people.
Yeah.
And solve this case. That's their choices. We're not going away. They either got to close it out, let us have it. Everybody can come up with their own conclusion. Or they've got to assign some detectives and reopen, reactivate.
There you go.
Reissue, reassign this case. Did they call it a suicide that night and then regret it because they called it so fast, but because of egos and pride, next morning by Asher, he calls it that. Egos and pride are powerful emotions. Could that be it? They rush to judgment, and then all of a sudden, Frankfurt looks at things and says, guys, that's the oldest trick in the book, planting a gun in his hand. Let's look at it another way.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know where that road, I don't know. We haven't traveled it, but
Right.
We've been told. See if we've been told wrong. Right where Johnny Edrington was killed, there's a driveway right back behind where we put that cross there.
Right.
There's a road that goes up to there.
Right.
Does that road go to White Oak? Does that road go to White Oak? Is it White Oak Road, baby?
I think it's White Oak. That's what I was saying.
Does
I
it?
think. I knew
We don't know. We haven't traveled it, but we were told that road also goes to White Oak. Guess who lived on White Oak Road at the time? Guess who could have just turned around and went right up that road?
Yep.
Because may have been where they were going to begin with. And if that was the truck, they may have been going there. And then when he pulled them over, they just pulled up there.
Mm-hmm.
They got done there. They could have just whipped a U-turn and went right up. If that's White Oak Road.
Yeah.
That's who Sheila and I would like to talk to. That's mine and Sheila's primary suspects.
Yeah.
You can't go with rumors. You got to go with facts and evidence. Could it have been a rush to judgment? Just too proud to change their minds? It could have been. We find the killer, then we'll know that's what it was. It could be, they may have to eat crow, but they may be better off eating crow than being accused of something they didn't do in life. Again, I don't know if they done anything wrong or not, guys. We don't know that. Right. But as of right now, we haven't found a thing other than probably just didn't like each other. Doesn't make them murders.
Right.
We don't know, and we don't pretend to know. We do know it was ruled a homicide by some very smart and professional people. We do know there was a lot of false statements in a book that's been proven false. It's a piece of garbage down there. It is, babe. From the pages that I read, I don't know what the rest of it is. I'm sure he's a war hero and everything else, probably. Who knows? I haven't read it. I'm speculating. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I'm saddened by Mr. Lieutenant Douglas Asher's that he wasn't more professional than that.
Path on that.
I can imagine what Post 11 was like during his tenure as post commander, if that's the nature of his character. That's my opinion. We do know there are a lot of false statements in that book that's been proven false. It makes no wonder there are false statements in the original report. Makes us wonder if there's false statements in the original reports, not counting what the supplement that he's supposed to be added just last year. The only way this case is ever going to be solved is to expose and criminally charge the killer or killers.
Right.
There's two. Kentucky State Penitentiary, two guys that's been convicted, given the death penalty for murder. If they've done it once, would it hurt them to done it again? No, probably not. One of them done as many as 7 times.
Right.
And probably more.
Oof.
Why isn't somebody talking to them? Why did these detectives at the time have a newspaper article? There's a newspaper article from Corbin. We put it on one of our videos where this guy, Robert Foley, requested to talk to the state police. State police said, we're not talking to them. We ain't wasting our time.
Yeah.
Wow. As an investigator, I would talk to anybody.
Follow
any lead. What if he was telling the truth? What if he had evidence? You never talk to, if you know they're a nutcase, they may have solved something. They may be the very one.
Never know.
Then that will prove or put the rumors to rest. I just don't understand these police officers who protest 36 years later, but didn't protest then when they thought a crime was being committed. Did they protest by going to the FBI and all these other people? Did they protest by going to the media? But arrested some people over their careers who no doubt did less than insurance fraud, which is a felony. Since we're naming people, since everybody, instead of just saying troopers, or I can just say troopers.
Yeah.
These state troopers out there that's worried about rumors, these state troopers that write books that covered up, if it's insurance fraud, if it was actually a S side, which it wasn't, but if it was actually a S side, and they let it go as a homicide so the family could get insurance, that's insurance fraud. It's insurance fraud. If they did that, then they have no doubt arrested people for trespassing, for speeding violations, for disorderly conduct, for all these charges that are so much less than felony insurance fraud. They've arrested people for less than what they've done themselves. That's sad. No time limits on felonies. So if they did that, if they want to admit to that, then a grand jury needs to take a look at this. Did they help cover up a crime? Are they guilty of insurance fraud? We don't know. We don't know. We're asking. But if they are saying there was evidence, overwhelming evidence of a S side, and they said nothing to the FBI or other agencies or organizations or the media, they're as guilty as the people that covered it up. Some of these guys went along to have, some of these guys went along with it being a homicide then, but want to protest or publicly write a book 36 years later. They want to go on Facebook now, or they want to write a book. This was homicide. Now, let's solve it.
So,
homicide, let's solve it. We went on, here's a picture. You don't have to post this.
Okay.
But this is 1969. We went researching this trooper, Bruce Slack, says Elizabethtown, March the 17th to June the 27th, 1969. So he was in the 39th Cadet Trooper class.
Yeah, I'll see that.
This is a trooper. He says they didn't look at his report, or they didn't go along with what he said. We'd like to know what he said. We'd like to know what he knows about them.
Yeah.
Here's another person that we wasn't aware of that he's on their page taken up for them. So we'd like to know, did he know that this was a S side and he didn't report it neither? Because that would be another trooper that's implicated in a possible. Doug Asher says it's a cover-up.
Yeah, big gray cover-up.
Asher quotes from his book. And this is going to be the third part, guys. This is going to be the third part that we're getting ready to go to. There are going to be 3 videos of this one. You may watch 1, 2, or none of them. This will be the third one. This will give you a better heads up on what Sheila and I are. She's going to do a different format.
Okay.
So come back on video number 3 for the follow-up and the final episode, and we'll be done.
Yep. We'll see you then.
Okay, catch you later.